We'd like to welcome you all to the latest Hustle Up free webinar for our members. This webinar is about AI creative tools. I know you guys are hearing a lot about the different creative tools are out there, tools for images, tools for video, tools for script assessments. And today, Matt O'Brien, who's a longtime Hustle Up member and who I've worked with for years in the entertainment business, is going to show us some of the tools that he's using. He's made a pivot to become an AI expert and a product manager, and he is going to share with us some of his tricks of the trade. Matt is a creator of hit NBC shows like NYC Prep and The Face. He's a TV development executive responsible for generating IP for entertainment studios like Jimmy Kimmel's Wheelhouse and Endemol Shine, makers of MasterChef and Biggest Loser, where Matt and I work together. He studied AI at Columbia's Fu School of Engineering, and he uses AI and machine learning pipelines to try and augment the TV development process. His latest series in development is with Amblin Entertainment. It's called The Algorithm. It's a very cool game show where it asks the question, does a computer know you better than your own family? It's a slightly terrifying question, or maybe the answer is. Matt also has a JD from Georgetown Law, and he is here with us today to show us his great tricks of the trade on AI creativity. Again, we want to just stress that we see AI as a way to help creatives be more efficient, make better content at a good price point, and democratize the creative process and be more productive. We're not interested in tools that are replacing creative talent. We want to help our creatives learn how to use these tools to facilitate your process. So with that, I'll hand it over to Matt O'Brien.
Awesome, thank you. Well, I'm excited to kind of show off some of the tools that I've been using, and it's definitely a process. So I think, if you're starting out and exploring some different tools that you can be using, I would say, take a deep breath and just know that it's a journey. There's never an end. There's always a new product. There's always a new newsletter about a new thing that has a new feature. So even, as someone who had no coding experience whatsoever, who kind of went all in, it really is just a process of just kind of messing around and trying different tools and figuring out exactly how you want to use it. And then next thing you know, a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, and suddenly you realize the curve of what you're achieving is just exponential. And that's what's really exciting about these tools. And I think, especially having spent a lot of time, on the production side, trying to sell shows to buyers and studios, I think, we're at a really exciting crossroads for creatives where, because a lot of legal issues and hurdles that big companies have to go through, they're not quite embracing all of the tools yet, because their legal departments are saying, hold off. Maybe you don't want to use Midjourney. Maybe we shouldn't use ChatGPT. Maybe we shouldn't use these things until we know what the law is. So it's actually this really great opportunity if you are producing new content, if you want to create, if you want to sell things. It's really a wild west right now for independent creators who want to just jump on the horse and kind of take some of these tools and ride them into the sunset. So today what I'm going to do is go through some of my favorite tools and give you a little bit of guidance on how to use them at a very top line. I'll try not to get too technical, but I'll just kind of give you, kind of skim over the water and give you guys some different options of how you might want to dip your toe into the Gen AI waters. So for me, I would say that probably number one of my favorite photo generators is Midjourney. You've probably heard about Midjourney. It's a really amazing tool to create, in my opinion, probably some of the all-around best images. We'll talk about Flux in a little while. They're kind of a competitor, but Midjourney, I think, especially if you're starting out, and depending on your use case, it's a fantastic way to really just start generating images that are hyper-specific, that really are tailored to your use case. So just to give you flavor, like, I was developing this show and I needed challenges, right? And I'm primarily an unscripted on the reality side. So it's a competition series, right? And normally, if you're pitching these competition series, you just have to have the buyers imagine this. But in this format, Boss Beach, one of the challenges, they're rolling balls of dung uphill. And so now with the magic of Midjourney, you can just ingest and say, this is the image that I want. And you can actually get to this point where, before it might be hours of Photoshop for something that looks half as good. So I think that, you know, if you really want to start playing around, this is one of the best places to do it. So what I'm going to do is walk you through how you might want to generate a sample image and how exactly that process works. So you'll want to get Discord. And if you don't have Discord, I would definitely suggest trying it out. It's very much like Slack for a lot of these AI programs. So if you have questions, if you need to talk to the support groups, Discord is usually where it happens. I know a lot of people have emailed companies being like, I'm having problems, and they never respond. Discord is their love language. So Discord is a great program to just also start to get to familiarize yourself with, because a lot of these tools do use it. So with Midjourney,
And that Discord is free, correct? You can join
Discord
Discord.
is free.
Yeah.
Discord is free, yeah. And we'll talk a little bit about pricing too. I'm going to show you a lot of these different tools, and at the end, I'll tell you kind of what price points I think, you know, if you're kind of entry level, I think Midjourney is a great first step. And we can talk more about some of the other options too. But just as an example, I just want to show you guys exactly how it works. So step one, you're going to do /imagine. And you guys, you can see, I can do the same one again so you can see. Let's say I want an African-American model, 1960s, portrait, head and shoulders, okay? Once I do that, it's going to start to generate a quadrant, and you'll see this in a second. I'm just reproducing the workflow that you can kind of see up here. But what it'll do is it'll create 4 sample images. So you can see that here, right? And so you might say, okay, I like where this is going. You can redo it if you want, but we won't get into that yet. But you say, okay, I like this. I like this direction of how it's going. So the second step that you want to do after that is you want to generate a seed. And this sounds like what's a seed? A seed is basically a long string of numbers that says, okay, this is kind of the area of image that we're talking about. And the seed gives you kind of an anchor for these image generators to say, look, I like kind of where this space is right now, so I want to iterate from this point. So that's what a seed is. So what you'll do to generate a seed.
Sound like old-fashioned brainstorming, Matt. You're in a room trying to come up with a TV show, and you're like, I don't really like the 5 other things, but this little thing I like. So now let's go with it and see where we can take it, right?
Exactly. It's like if you were pitching Survivor, and it's like people on an island, 2 tribes. I don't
Rolling
know how
dung
it
up
works,
a
but
hill.
rolling dung up a hill, right? It's like you have a general idea, but you haven't quite gotten the specifics, but you can all agree like this is kind of the zone. Exactly. That's what a seed is. So what you do is when you like it, you go, okay, I'm going to add a reaction to this. And you add an envelope reaction. It's kind of strange, but that's what you do. And once you do that, see, now I have this seed. And with that seed, I can start to generate that same image, but across different contexts. So now I can say, okay, I want that same model. I want her to be reading a book on the beach. And you can see here, I'm using that same seed number. And so what that does is then I start
possible to make your screen bigger? It's a little bit hard to see the
Sure.
actual text.
Let me try and zoom in a little bit, and then you can, hold on, see if we can do that. Can you get, is that better? Can you see a little bit better? Marginally, yeah, okay, okay. So you can see right here, kind of above my head, this is the seed number. And that's the seed that you get. So when a lot of people, when they're first starting out, they go, I want to create like images, or I want to create something with a character, but I want it to be consistent. And so one of the biggest steps with Midjourney is really figuring out how to copy that same seed and that same image. And then you start to iterate and say, okay, I want this reading a book on the beach. We can try something else and say, I'll take, this could be like improv too, if you guys want to yell out suggestions, I can do things. We can say an African-American model, 1960s, and let's say driving a car. We can see that. And let's see, and this is a good example, what kind of car is it going to generate? Is it going to generate like a super modern vehicle, or is it going to understand that we're in the 1960s, this is the type of time period we're talking about, and let's see what it comes up with.
And you might have to scroll down, Matt, because I think we're zoomed in.
Yeah, we're still zoomed in. It still hasn't Hasn't totally done it yet. It's about 32% of the way there. Let's zoom out a little
Did a
bit.
pretty good job.
Not bad, right? And so there you can start to look here, then you're like, all right. Now, there's some interesting tools here, and I'll just show you this I just discovered, right? Where edit image with apps. Can you guys see that where I hover over these four? So this is new, and I just was like looking at this today. Animate a character image with a text prompt. So I'll just send one. I'm not even going to give it a prompt. Let's just see what it does. And it's going to create an actual, a short video with that character. Now, I happened to do this randomly before. The random motion prompt that came up with Beyonce Single Ladies, and this is what it just generated that video off of this character. Now, I've never tried that before, but these are the kinds of things that you see with all of these programs where you see all of a sudden you can make a caption, you make a sticker, you can mess with these images with new apps that are now embedded in Midjourney, and that is a new, completely new. So let's see what happened with this video. Well, let's see if you guys can see that. Did you guys see that? Okay. It's a little, it's interesting. I don't know what, you know, so again, one of the fun things is I just discovered that today. So all of these different apps and all of these different ecosystems are kind of all circling around together. But Midjourney, I would say, is probably the best way to do it. And again, the easiest way is just, you don't even have to get, you know, this is probably a little bit more advanced. All you really need to do is step one. And that's the first step, I think, for image generation. Download Discord, get on the Midjourney channel, and just start generating images. /imagine, and then you'll start to see these images. And this is a great place to start.
Matt, just to clarify for folks,
Yeah,
you actually use Midjourney through Discord, or is there a separate
right.
platform for Midjourney?
It's actually in Discord, and you can see let me see if you guys can see where I'm clicking right here, this Midjourney bot. Let me see if I can zoom in for you there. Give me 1 second.
And everything, while you're doing that, everything you generate is downloadable, correct?
That's right. It's all downloadable. It's completely, so can you guys see Midjourney bot there?
Yep.
See there? Direct messages. So when you download Midjourney, it's a channel, and there are lots of these different channels you could see. And let me scroll and I'll show you some of them just so you guys can see the interface here. So these are all different channels, right? And so Midjourney, let's see, is this one. So that's one of the channels. So when you go on that Midjourney, you'll see all sorts of different channels, but all you really want to do is just send this Midjourney bot a direct message. And that's how you use Midjourney. And so you use it in the context of Discord, and you go back and forth. Now I will show you, if you start to use it more, I just want to show you what that looks like. You do get access to Midjourney Alpha, which, you know, I think if you generate probably like 500 images, which, you know, if you have a plan of approximately, I'd say $12 to $20 a month, you can do that very quickly and still have credits to burn. But once you start doing it more and more, you get this Midjourney Alpha, which does a lot of the same stuff, where you're going to enter in fields here, but you can search for different pictures if you're looking for it. But it's more of a web-based interface. So they're working on this. So if you do feel like, I don't understand Discord, I don't like it, I want to do it on the web, this is definitely an area where you can, where they're working on it. I don't know why it's, let me see if I can log in and just show you really quick. I already have a subscription. Let's see.
Hence why they're working on it.
Yeah, right. I'm going to connect the Discord. Let's see. Okay. Awesome. Let's see if this works. Okay. I think I'm like logged in as a different Google member, but anyway, it's the same thing as Midjourney, but just on a web interface. So that's one tool that I think is fantastic. Another tool that I
And out of
highly,
curiosity,
yeah,
Matt, in terms of the quality of the images, and you just showed us, a brief demo, you think the
yeah,
quality of the images that Midjourney generates are better than other platforms?
100%. And it's like, just even, I mean, even just looking at like, let's say, let's try, if you want, like, tell me something. Like, you could just, tell me something you're imagining right now, and I'll put it in, and I'll let you guys can see why I think it's so great. Like, tell me something, an image that you'd like to generate.
A
Something,
flying donkey.
a flying donkey. All right, I'm not even gonna give it a style. Just gonna say a flying donkey. Let's see what it comes back with. Um, and while it is working, and actually it won't take that long, you can see, let me zoom out a little bit so you guys can see again. You can see the flying donkey. Okay, so let's go in here. Okay, so which one out of those? This is like, and it's kind of like going to the optometrist, right? So you're like, okay, out of those, are there any that kind of were you thinking more like hyper realistic, like an HD photo, or were you thinking more like a children's book animation, or are there any
And
of
that's
these
something
speak
you
to
can
you?
include in the prompt, correct? So hyper realistic
Exactly.
flying donkey.
Exactly. Like if you, let's say you wanted that and you're like, all right, I like, like we could just do that again. Let's just say, imagine, and then you can say an HD hyper realistic photo of a flying donkey. Okay. Now, while that's going, I'll come back to that in a second. I also will show you guys another kind of quick, easy hack for these is a site called Prompt Base. And this is another place that I like a lot. And essentially, Prompt Base allows you to purchase some of these prompts that we're talking about. So let's say I wanted to do like stained glass celebrity mural, right? And I really wanted that style. Here's the prompt right here that I can copy. A beautiful, hyper-realistic, breathtaking stained glass mural of person. Stained glass, ominous, magic color palette, low angle, Unreal Engine version 5.2. You copy that prompt and then you put it back into the Discord where we were before, and you will get, and let's see if this works. Let's say Kamala Harris. Let's try it. We'll get a stained glass mural. See if that does it. Meantime, oh, see, they're not. You see this too, right? We're going to talk about this. Prompt
Let's go ahead and
engineering.
talk about it because I think this is actually a really important aspect of what's happening right now in your Wild West world, right?
Yes. But by the way, better, right? You see these guys before we get off the flying donkey. Out of these four, which one do you like the best, Heather? Which one do you think is your favorite?
I'm gonna go number 3, lower
Number
left.
3, lower left. Okay, so that's exactly how it works. So if for the lower third, I say, okay, I want to upres or I want a variation on that. And so now it's going to take V3 means make variations on this. So it's going to take that one that I like and it's going to give me 4 new variations. Or I might say, you know what? I like 3. I want to upres it. I want to do it. And it's going to give it to me. Now, you can still go in there and still start to change. Be like, okay, I like it, but I wanna zoom in 1.5. You guys can see that right here. I click it, it's gonna generate a zoom in of that. And then here are the variations of the donkey. So you could really spend a lot of time just being like, oh, okay, I like that one. And then as you start to just button mash a little bit, you're gonna see like, okay, what does this zoom in do? Well, let's look. Like let's see. All right, it's not gonna let me do the sorry, it's not gonna let me do the video right now with you guys, but you can see how you could just really kind of go and have a lot of fun with these things. So, but you're right. Let's go back to the question of these banned prompts, right? So I'm asking for Kamala Harris during election season. So one of the things you're going to start to encounter with these models is you're going to encounter these bans. So sometimes just say notify the developers. But that's kind of like, it looks like it's a pretty hard coded rule. But sometimes you just say, I appeal. I'm doing a true crime series. I need a picture of like a murder victim in the meatpacking district in Manhattan. And I need the chalk outline, I need the whole thing. And then it's going to tell me, we don't want to do murder. So you're going to have to start to massage, right? And then you just appeal the decision. And sometimes that works. You say appeal, and then it's like the algorithm has reviewed your request and we are allowing it. And so you just do it twice. So a lot of times that'll work. However, more and more, you will start to see these models are going to become more restrictive. So Midjourney, as an example, I used to be able to say Kamala Harris or Tom Cruise, and it would give me an image of Tom Cruise. Then with the legal problems, they started to kind of add this distortion. So it's like Tom Cruise, but like, if you remember that, this is an old movie with Michael Keaton, Multiplicity, where you start to clone yourself and the clones start to degrade. That's what Midjourney does. It's like the 7th clone of a clone, and it's not really quite you. That's what they started doing to legally protect themselves. So as you start to go down this journey, you're going to encounter these issues with certain platforms. So the first thing you can do is say, all right, I've tried to get around Midjourney's bans. It's not letting me do my thing. So I'm just going to have to go and try another engine. And so this is all part of the process, and it's good. Like you kind of experiment with a tool, you figure out some problems with it, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to try another one. And if you were going to try another one, I would highly recommend Perplexity. I think it's a fantastic, it's really a kind of one-stop shop for a lot of generative AI. So I'll give you guys an example. Hold on one second here. And let me pull up an example. So what's nice about Perplexity is, first of all, it does web searches, okay? It does a lot of different things, but web searching. So if you're researching something and saying, I'm doing a documentary about, let's say, the mafia, please tell me more about mafia families in Brooklyn during the 1980s, right? And what it's going to do very quickly, it's going to look through a wide variety of sources. If it doesn't embarrass me, see, it does that. Let's do this one. Tell me about Civitai. All right, we're going to get to this in a second. But what it does is it researches for you. It gives you all of the sources, and it can really, like, you can do follow-up questions, and it suggests follow-up questions. But basically, it's like Google on steroids. But it has a whole bunch of other things that are really cool about it. And one of them is the fact that you can really try out different models. So you can see here, I can try out GPT-4o, I can use Claude 3, Sonar Huge, which is a llama-based one. Perplexity is not on Discord, but I see some questions coming in. But you can
Just to
contact
clarify, Matt, these are all
tech
different
support.
LLMs. They're owned by different
Yes.
companies.
Yes.
Some of them, like Sonar, I believe, is open source, correct? That's part of Llama.
And then they Perplexity added onto it. So it used it as
Got
a base, and then Perplexity trained that model and tried to make it a little bit better. So it's very much like the Matrix and Neo, just like practicing katas, and eventually so that's what you're doing with these LLMs. You're just training them, you're fighting, you're seeing how their answers are, and you're improving them. And so when you have a Perplexity, and this is a pro subscription, and this one, I'd say probably when we're talking about budget, it's $20 a month. But I think for the fact that you get access to all of these different AI models, and not just that, you also get to use different image generation models. And one of them is Flux. And Flux is like the new hot competitor to Midjourney. And so you might have seen some of the postings online, or they create hyper realistic images, and they're really good at video. So with Perplexity, with the pro version, you can use it to generate, you can say, I want to try Flux. Now I'm going to try and make it with Stable Diffusion. Now I want to try to make it with DALL-E. And DALL-E is the OpenAI ChatGPT version. So again, when you're starting to look at different things, you could easily spend, I got a subscription with Midjourney, and then I got a subscription with OpenAI, and then I got a subscription over here. And suddenly you're paying, you know, $30, $40, $50. It becomes like a cable bundling thing where you're like, I can't do this. I need to cut the cord. And so if you were to look at kind of a one-stop, what gives you the best bang for your buck, I would say Perplexity Pro subscription is pretty competitive. So let's look at, and I'll give you an example. Let's see here of the Flux capability. So you have to do this weird hack, which is strange, but like you have to tell Perplexity, repeat this prompt just as I'm writing right here. Don't change anything. And so what I wanted was I needed a mom standing on a Roomba robot, right? That was what I needed for my project. And so I put that prompt in, and then I say generate image. Now let's say I want, and let's say, well, let's do the flying donkey, right? Let's edit this and say, I want to see a flying, super realistic flying donkey. And I'm going to go wearing a Superman cape. Let's see. I'm going to push the envelope with IP here, and let's see what happens.
I was going to go
say,
but you know, either way.
So I'm going to say generate image, and let's see what we get. Not bad, right? And this is Flux, this is solid. And then you can say, oh, I just want to generate another one. And so you don't have to rewrite it, just click generate image again. And you might say, you know what, I want more of an illustration. So you click illustration, and then you'll see we're going to get a different style. So again, very simple to use. Maybe I want a painting. This is a really great simple tool to use. Whereas Flux can, you know, you can enter it on the web a bit, but I just think this is such a wonderful integration. And then in terms of research and asking questions and things like that, Perplexity is fantastic. And again, just to look at some of these things, let's look at, if I have a search here.
And I believe Perplexity has a free model as well, Matt. Is that right?
It does. It does. I
So
think
some of these things, guys, you can try the free model first. It might not have the same firepower, so you have to recognize that the quality of what you get back in the free version may not be as high, but you'll be able to see what the capacity and the capabilities are before you plunk down a monthly fee.
100%. And if you're a student or you're going back to school, they have great deals for, like, you know, like if you're doing Adobe Creative Suite and you use your old college address or something, you can get a discount, you know, all those kind of things. So if you have any, you know.
You didn't hear that here. You didn't hear that here.
Any connection to school, you know, that's a good thing I would shout about, and maybe get a discount. The other thing that I think Perplexity is fantastic for, and we haven't talked a lot about it, is generative AI for writing. It's wonderful at retaining the context of a thread. So when you're talking about something, what can be frustrating with some of these, you know, if you're using ChatGPT, is it has a certain amount of session memory. So you're talking to it about something, you leave, you come back, and then it's like, you forgot everything I just told you. Like, what happened? It's just in one ear and out the other. So that's called session memory. It's getting bigger.
That's
it's getting
called
better.
my wife, but
exactly.
Just real quickly, Matt, I think that's really important. So, so you're saying Perplexity has longer session memory no matter which of the platforms you use. So, for example, if you use ChatGPT through Perplexity, you'll have better session memory than you would if you went directly to ChatGPT. I did not know that.
You know, it's good. That's a good question. And I will say, like, when I'm writing and again, this is the fun about using these tools, as you experiment with the different models. I personally, it's the Sonar large model, which is the model based on Llama 3.1 that was trained by Perplexity, that I find to be the best for writing. I find that not only is it great with session memory, it's also great with code. And I would also say, if you guys are looking at like writing your own code or learning Python, this is just a relevant sidebar to say a lot of these models can write it for you. So if you want to write, like, I want a script that's going to like update my Google Sheet with my production calendar, and just, you can verbally explain what it is that you want to build, and these models are getting really good at being like, here's the code for that, and then you ask it how do I run a Python script? Like, what do I do? And it's like how to train your dragon. You're talking to this little AI, and it will literally walk you through it. So wherever you are, wherever you're at in the process, you can use a tool like Perplexity to be like, okay, like help me build this pipeline. So even for production, for spreadsheets, automating things like that, it's wonderful to start using these tools, because you'd be surprised how much of the load that they can carry for you. Another thing that you can do with this is create pages. So you can create and research something and then send someone a link to this page that Perplexity has created for you that has all of the sources, all of the background. So if you're doing documentary research and all that kind of stuff, it's a wonderful tool. So that's, so Perplexity and Midjourney, I'd say, are the two kind of first steps that I would suggest, especially as you're looking into generative AI.
I
Now,
think we have time for one more, Matt. Will you show us one more?
absolutely, absolutely. So I want to set the table and just say that, these, if
So,
can you hear that, by the way?
sometimes nothing happens and sometimes everything happens all at once.
This is Microsoft's like video and lip audio synchronization that they're not releasing to the public because it would be, but I show it to say like, what's available and what's coming is like mind-blowing. I mean, it's going to be super hyper realistic. So you've probably seen like
But just to
Luma
clarify,
Labs
those were not real people.
Those were not real people. Those were not real voices, and it was all completely generated. So where we're going is an exciting place in that you can create your own, you're going to be able to create your own movie event, like we're getting there. And here's the big thing that if I'm going to, I'll show you one more tool, and this is kind of jumping ahead at light speed. You guys have seen Luma Labs where you can type in certain things, but you're going to get 3 seconds of great footage, right? And there was a great post recently where we're talking about costs, where someone was playing with Luna Dream Machine. And this is true. It takes about like 500 generations to get maybe like a minute. You're going to trial and error. You're going to try it all over again. For about a minute, it'll be like 500 generations. A Premiere plan costs 500 for 2,000 generations a month. So, you're going to get about costs about $125 to do a minute of video. Which is good, but still beyond my, I don't want to spend that much right now. And if you were to buy, let's say, like the state-of-the-art, NVIDIA graphics card, which is basically the horsepower to make these things, that's like $25,000 to $40,000, right? So you see all these videos online where it's like, oh, I want to do that. Like, how can I do that? Well, the answer is by using cloud computing. So this is another thing, as you start to explore this, you can rent these, and I'll show you really quick, you can rent these GPUs, that like state-of-the-art $40,000 chip, you can rent for $349 an hour. And so there's the last site that I will recommend, and this is kind of as you start to advance in your journey, is Run Comfy. And Run Comfy is this wonderful site. I'm a Mac user, and if you're a Mac user, it's really hard to tap into the latest models because they're really optimized for Windows. What a site like Run Comfy does is it allows you to generate these amazing videos and use these state-of-the-art workflows on the web. And you use a virtual machine to create these things. So like, let's say really quickly,
That brings down the price point, Matt. That makes it more affordable.
It does. So like, let's say I want like this one where it's like, oh, I want to make a clay version of myself, right? I want to take a picture and I want to make a claymation. You can see here, these are the different models. This is the one I was just showing you guys, like 80 gigs of VRAM, 2X, it's $5.99 an hour. So I'm going to launch it for you guys. And I'll show you a quick workflow, but what's great is it picks the version of this software that's optimized for this workflow. So that's another problem. Like if you're trying to do this on your own, it's a nightmare because it'll be like, oh, this thing has changed. This thing needs to be updated. So what sites like this do is they streamline the whole process for you and say, oh, you want to make a claymation video? You want to transfer your face onto somebody else's face, and all the crazy, amazing videos that you see, it's like, how did they do that? You can do it by getting on a site like this and opening up and launching one of these virtual machines. And the cost of it, once this boots up, I'll be able to run something in like a minute or two. I'll be able to generate an amazing image that's claymation or 3D of a photo that I've uploaded for a fraction of the cost. It'll cost me about 99 cents. And so as you start to look at these different options in terms of generating these amazing videos, you'll want to start to look at the run fees and some of these other cloud providers, because it's just not worth it to buy a chip or upgrade your hardware, especially at the kind of use cases that we're doing. And so
And the chip
while
will
this
be outdated
loads,
within 6 months anyway, so.
exactly. And the other thing that you see all the time while that's loading is Civitai. And so Civitai is where you can download these models. And I know you guys remember the Garbage Pail Kids, but like people create these amazing projects and all you have to do is download it and open it up and you can run them. So for example, models, like they'll train a model on, let's just say Angelina Jolie. Let's say you wanted to use okay. Obviously spelled it wrong. Hold on. Angelina. Actually, I'm going to do Brad Pitt. They must have done him. Let's see. Right? Okay, so these are called LoRa's. And what you can do is they'll give a model like hundreds of Brad Pitt photos, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And then you can use and download that model and say, okay, I want to use Brad Pitt younger version and I'm going to make a video with him. And so you just download this and then you upload it very simply into this web interface. And then suddenly you can make a video with, Brad Pitt right from the comfort of your web interface. The last, and this may not load in time for us, so I won't show you this if it doesn't load in the next minute or so. But the last quick thing I'll show you guys is Lore Machine. This is another one that's pretty cool. It's a story visualization system. I would check this out too. You can enter it in. You can upload your script. You can have it write, and basically it will storyboard the entire script for you. For a reasonable amount of credits. Again, I would say it probably costs about $3 for a 24 tile storyboard it'll push in for about 5 seconds each. So Lore Machine is another fantastic tool I would use. Yeah, and I think since we're running out of time, I will generate one in the background. And then when I'm done, I'll show you guys what this one can do as well.
That sounds great. Thank you, Matt. That was super interesting and super helpful. I know some folks are putting your questions into the chat. I just want to remind you to use the Slido for questions so that we can see them get upvoted. I'm not sure where Slido is now. I might have lost Slido, but the last thing that we wanted to share with everybody is actually the new HUSSLUP tool that we've released, which is our full script assessment. I know a number of you have been using it, which is great. We're hoping to keep that live again. And we wanted to just share with you some of the results and how it works. You can get to that on HUSSLUP through your creative portfolio by going simply to Edit Creative Portfolio, there we go. And then adding content, and it'll give you the option to purchase the full script assessment on your way out. You can also get to it right up here in the master nav through Greenlight Studio. And what's great about this is that it gives you a really detailed breakdown. I'll show you a TV show. There are 3 tabs that it gives you for story, for character, and for assessment. You can ultimately download the entire report as a PDF, and you can also publish it to your creative portfolio if you want people to be able to see this as a shorthand for being able to get to know your script and to potentially engage with it further. You get a log line, which you can edit. You can edit all of these sections if you want to make tweaks or changes. You get a plot synopsis that goes through all of the acts of the show, a major scene breakdown, which is great for location planning and even budgeting. A story assessment that gives you an assessment of the originality of the story. And then this is really cool and people have really liked it. We give you basically the beginning of your Bible, right? We take your pilot and we break it down for 8 episodes of television, and we give you suggested story points and the character arcs that correspond to those story points for 8 episodes of TV. And I have to say, they're pretty darn good. We've had a lot of very positive feedback about this particular part of the report. And I've done it for a couple of my scripts and been like, why didn't I have this tool when I was working on this? And then the second tab is the character tab. It gives you your character description and your character arc. It gives you whether they're lead or supporting, and then a complexity rating. This is great when you have to break something down for a competition application or a festival application to hand to studio exec or your agent or manager. Really helpful to have this. And again, you can edit this and you can download it. And then the assessment is basically an opportunity for sort of an objective assessment of the work. It gives you a breakdown of the genres, the tone of the script, the different themes in the script, and it describes them for you. It gives you an assessment of how complex the story is. And then it gives you a marketing assessment. It identifies your target audience for you. It gives you marketability to a general US audience, where it gives you an idea of how a general US audience would like it, and perhaps even some of the things they might not like. And then it gives you the emotional levers that you might want to use in a campaign, right? What's the emotional impact of this story? It also gives you marketing comps. For TV, we give you ratings. For film, we give you box office, so it contextualizes how successful your comps were. And then finally, and writers have been really finding these useful and helpful, we give you suggestions for improvement. And these are not boilerplate, lame suggestions that come out the same way for every script. We actually give you page numbers that tell you where to go to look for improvement on these notes. And we give you very specific feedback that helps you really improve your script. Usually we give you 4 suggestions for improvement with page numbers. I'll quickly show you what happens if you upload a feature. If you're uploading a feature, obviously you don't get an 8-episode Bible. Instead, what you get for a feature, that's my little doggy. I might eat him. I don't know if anyone else wants to eat him, but I might eat him. He's adorable. And basically for a feature, we give you a suggested pitch deck. So you're not getting an 8-episode Bible. Instead, you're getting a breakdown of a 10 to 14 slide pitch deck that gives you the bones of what you're going to want to include in your pitch deck. And then you can obviously go in and edit that and make it your own. But it gives you a really good head start. It gives you a suggestion for images. We don't generate the images for you yet. That was prohibitively expensive, and we didn't want to price people out of using this tool. But eventually we will be able to generate those images for you and help you make your pitch deck. And so that's just a quick tour of full script assessment. Everyone on HUSSLUP received an email with a promotional code to try your first full script assessment for a discounted rate. We hope you'll try it. People have been giving us 5 out of 5 for value and for accuracy. So please do let us know. You can give us the thumbs up on each tab of that report to let us know if the report was good, and that we take that feedback really seriously. So please do give us that feedback. And then if anybody has any questions on that tool, you can always email Matt and myself at support@HUSSLUP, and we're happy to give you further information and or a demo of the tool.
On that topic, there is one question if it works also for short films, so you can just respond to that
Yes,
one.
if it's a short script, you just you'll still select feature, or actually I think it's film script in the drop down. You'll select film script. That lets the machine know that it's a close-ended story, and so it will give you your feedback. I've also used it for plays. I've run a couple of plays through it, and it gave excellent feedback. I just selected film script, and it gave me excellent feedback on a play as well. Matt O'Brien, would you like to come back and show us? Did you generate?
Yeah, I've created. We can.
I love it.
If you
All
guys
right,
want
then,
to show
then we're back
me.
to you.
All right, let me get this up. You guys can see. So this is the headshot. Okay, yeah, I had a beard. Right, this is my. All right, I don't know if that's quite accurate.
You're looking real good there, man. Real good, real good.
That was what I was like. All right, let me make myself a claymation. So this this looks crazy, right? It's like this crazy. It's a pipeline. And this is the way that a lot of people from our industry that are starting to really use image generators, they're using this flow. Instead of coding, these are just basically, it's a flow of instructions, and it looks crazy, but like all you really need to do is upload and then click Q prompts. You can change things, and you can change LoRa's, but I've got claymation and things like that. And when it generates, okay, all right, that's, this is the first run. I feel like I look a little meth heady, but that's all right. And you can, but this is the fun of it, right? So what you do is here you can start to change, like Naruto is a certain kind of anime style. And maybe I say, okay, I want to try, let's see, maybe more of like a cereal box. So anyway, you can choose all of these different things and then just say Q prompt. And what you can see up here is I'm using this 2XL Plus. That's that super, super powerful back-end chip. And it'll do it in like a minute. And it costs $5.99 a minute. So like, you don't have to use this one, but you see how fast that was.
And can you
So,
animate
very,
that, Matt? Is it possible to animate those?
I can. And so if I'm going to stop this machine, I'll just go back to run comfy. And you could say, okay, I want to animate this. And these are all the different ways to do it, right? I could say, okay, I want to animate it. You can take, this is another good example. You can take someone's video. These are two different faces, and you can put the face on each of them and then just run it. Now, if you wanted to do this, you would need a super ridiculous computer. But on sites like this, you run it and you get like once you know you've got it, you use the smaller models, the smaller machines to launch these things, get it right. And then once you're ready to output, then you rent that super souped up one and say, okay, swap this out, and maybe it'll take an hour, maybe less, depending on what you're doing. But all of these different, this is another great one, right? This is a live portrait. So it takes the face that you make and it's going to swap it on the video that you supply. And all you're going to do is upload the video of you, upload the video you want it to track it to, and then kind of click send. And it seems daunting, but like, that's all it is. And then the devil's in the details when you want to start to futz with things and you start to learn how to change different values. But you can make videos, you can see all of these different. So these are really wonderful tools just to play around with. And you'll quickly see that like, wow, I just did that. And you get that magical AI experience that a lot of people don't get because you start it and then you're like, this doesn't work, this sucks. Like, I'm not going to use this. But once you start using tools like this and just renting a Ferrari chip when you need it and using the Honda when you don't, you'll save a lot of money and you'll learn without like spending a ton of money. So
that's great.
yeah.
Let's turn to some questions real quickly, Matt. I think we've got some good ones. Somebody asked, can you create video as well as photos on Midjourney? Midjourney is more used for still images. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. Like you can get some like zoom effects and things like that, but it's more going to be like a Ken Burns kind of like, zooming in on a still. So Runway and Luma are probably your best. They're two of kind of the best ones in terms of just putting in a prompt and getting video. But again, just thinking about your use case, like if you really want it to look good, it'll probably you'll have to do it a lot if you want to get exactly what you want.
Yeah. We have a question about a book summary for book optioning. Beverly, we are working on that. That'll be in addition to our full script assessment tool. We'll be able to give you a breakdown of your book that has more than just a summary. It'll have that marketing assessment and other things in it. Is Midjourney paid or free? I believe Midjourney, do they have a free version of Midjourney?
There might be, usually they have like,
I think the minimum is $10 right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
So,
like a drug dealer. They'll give you a few for free sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Question about our AI tools. I don't have an answer about whether they're going to be available during hiatus yet. I'm hoping we're not going on hiatus. That's the goal, but we will let you know. Right, as of right now, they would not be available. And then I think we had a couple of questions also in the chat. Have I done all the Slido questions, Matt? I think I did. Matt Val,
Yes,
correct?
I think most of them, yeah. Is it true that free members' images are not private on Midjourney? I don't think that you can do it for free. That's the answer to that.
And I think we had a question related to that, which I think is the final thing we should talk about for a minute, Matt O'Brien, which is whether your materials are being used to train these models. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and it's case by case, depending on
I'll
the
just jump in and
platform
say
that
your
you.
material is not being used to train any LLMs when you use HUSSLUP's tools. We do not allow the material to be used to train LLMs. But continue, Matt.
Yeah, so usually, on any of them, you just dig into the terms of service and the settings, and so you can say on most anytime you pay, you always have the option to say, I don't want you to use my stuff to train your models. And they're like, fine, because we've already like ripped off the internet, whole internet, and we don't need you, and they're not going to care.
Don't go to the
Um,
dark place, Matt. Don't go to the
I'm
dark place.
just, I'm just saying, like it doesn't. But if you pay them, then they have to, they can't, they have to give the option. If you do not pay them, then they will, they can use your stuff to train
Yeah,
their
and that's a
models.
good
So
reason to take a monthly subscription if you're using a tool frequently. Their terms of service are very clear because you're paying them a fee that they cannot take your IP. And I think that's pretty much across the board.
yeah, pretty much exactly. Like that's a pretty solid standard. Like if you pay them, you're probably going to have that option. And then there are other, then I'd say the only other assurances you get is like, an Adobe might say, if you use our generative AI, we'll indemnify you if you get sued because we're going to make sure. But even that's their models are creating stuff that's infringing copyright. And I don't know if they'll be able to defend you. So I think it's a little bit like file sharing back in the day where everybody was like ripping music and they're like, we could prosecute, and like no one's gonna come, like it's a needle in the haystack kind of thing. So I don't think unless you're commercializing something so crass and obviously a ripoff of somebody, I think as individual creators, you have a lot of latitude and you don't have to worry about them coming after you.
And then a second sort of related question, Matt, on most of these platforms, if you create something, it's private, correct? Everybody else on the platform cannot see what you've created unless you're on a platform where you're trying to give it away or sell it.
It depends. Like Midjourney is a good example, right? It's like tiers. Like if you want it to be private, then you have to pay an additional amount above the amount that you already paid, like the $10. So there's like a private generation mode where it's just staying with you. Otherwise, it just gets thrown up on like the image board, everything that you're creating. And the upside of that is that when you are looking for an image and maybe you don't want to like craft a perfect prompt and spend the time, sometimes you just search for like, mafia guy smoking a cigar, and 80 people will have done something like that, and then you'll just download the image that they created. So it's a double-edged sword in the sense like, sure, you give up, like if you're not going to pay for that, like I don't. There's a sea of images, it's thousands and pouring in every day, so you're like a drop in the bucket. But it will be there. So like, I wouldn't do your face, or like, I wouldn't put my kid's face on it because I don't want, that to be like, oh, now you could use my kid's face to make like, nuh-uh. So like things like that probably align for me, but there are people who are like, my phone listens to me. I don't care. I
Wait,
ain't
my
got
phone's
anything to
listening to
say.
me?
You know what I mean? Like some people don't care, some people do.
I
It's
think,
kind of like that.
the takeaway really is to read the terms of service and to make sure where you can have settings on your account, you're selecting the settings that make you the most comfortable when you're using these tools, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, again, paying will take care of it
Yeah.
99% of the time.
Right. And with regard to that, what is sort of, I have a question that I'll ask. What is sort of your favorite thing that you have created? Like what, like the thing that like blew you out of the water and you were like, I could not do this if I didn't have access to these tools. Is there one thing that, I know the dung picture, but like beyond, is there one thing that you can kind of point to and say, this was, magic for me?
Yeah, and I think it goes along with like kind of the rebel punk spirit, I think, of where we are right now, where in the unscripted world, when you're pitching a show, right, you rip footage like a sizzle reel. Like I'll take footage from Love Island and The Bachelor and I'll use it out of context to communicate the idea of the show. And so I had a show
Often
that I
called a
wanted to
rip-o-matic in the TV business, right? A rip-o-matic.
right.
Yep.
And legally, it's totally wrong. You can't, you're not allowed to rip footage. You're not allowed to like, and you're going to use it to like sell it to like NBC. Like, this is crazy, but everybody does it, right? And it's just accepted. Everyone does it. And so what I wanted to try and do was, I had a celebrity that I really wanted for a reality project in a format. And so I just cloned her voice and I cloned her likeness. And I was able to do a pitch reel with her talking and presenting it. And it sounded exactly like her. And it gave the buyers exactly what I wanted, which is, imagine if this person was the host of this show. And I could never do that before. The only thing you do is in your deck, you're like, oh, here's The Rock and here's Jason Bateman. These guys would all be great hosts for this new game show. And everybody does
With a
that.
still picture of their headshot.
Yeah, it's like meaningless. It's meaningless. And so, you know, I got really excited. I was like, wow, like I can. And so obviously, like, it's not something that I can't make a show with that celebrity and like profit off of their likeness. But if I want to pitch an idea and I have a movie or I have an actor, why don't I just put that actor like actually in my pitch deck? And like, it's all about, and it always has been, when you're selling or conveying a creative idea, how can I make your imagination kind of meet me in the middle? And I got to use my voice, I got to use assets. And so I think what I get most excited about when I'm, you know, some of the stuff that I get really jazzed about is when I'm creating, it's a little bit on the edge. Maybe it's not like totally, you know, maybe it's kosher, maybe it's not, but like, I want to be able to create those kind of materials where buyers go, wow, like I've never seen that before. And so that's what I love. That's what I get excited to buy. And, you know,
It gets a project sold,
piles of
right?
dung.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, I think a lot of these tools that we're looking at with Matt today, everybody, are really great for creating sales materials, right? They're great for creating decks. They're great for creating reels. They're great for creating posters or key art. They're great for creating things that would help you in your sales process, right? Storyboards, etc. We have one last question that came in, Matt. It's a good one. If you use Lore Machine to create storyboards, is the quality good enough to turn that into a graphic novel? I don't think so, but what's your take on it?
If you know, they have like, I'd say they over-index on like graphic novel styles. So actually, if it did do it well, like it would be like a graphic novel style. But I actually think a Perplexity with Flux, or just like using ChatGPT to generate a style of a graphic novel, you'd be able to get 90 cents on the dollar for like the images that you're creating. So I think you can create a graphic novel with Lore Machine, but it might be a good first stop, but I don't think it would be the perfect end result. Like there's going to be
And
things
worth
that you
noting that
wanna
most of these
improve.
platforms now have image consistency, right? That used to be a big problem. Like you wanted to do 6 images in a row for a project, and every image, the protagonist would look completely different. And
Exactly.
now you can actually tell the machine to make the image consistent so that the character repeats, right? That's the case for, I think, most of these tools now.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the biggest. It continues to be a challenge. But things like, you know, when I was showing you that that claymation, for example, you know, is that whole flow. You can now add in nodes that have ChatGPT in it, right? So you're like chat, and so you can give it prompts inside of that flow and say, ChatGPT, make that person that you generated as person one. Now put that person in the crime scene, and it can start to think and give the prompts. So like everything is just more automated, and the more that you kind of play with it, you just realize you kind of have to set it up and then just let it run. And that's kind of, I think, with most of these tools. And character consistency is a tough one. And so they're getting better. Everything's getting better every day. So all you
Well,
gotta do is
that's a
wait.
great place to end on that note of optimism, Matt. Thank you so much for coming in and showing us these tools, talking to us about how they work. I think it's super informative and a great launching point for folks who have not used these tools yet. Thank you to everybody who joined the call today, the webinar. You know, we try to do one of these, at least one of these a month. We did 2 this month. We did the film financing one at the beginning of the month, and now this one with Matt. And we're super excited to have all of you try the full script assessment as well. So thank you for joining us tonight, guys, and we will keep you up to date and in the loop on the latest progress and status of Hustle Up.